equals the mockery begins. The massive galactic trade hub Nexus 7 hung in space like a glittering jewel against the star field. Ships from dozens of different worlds docked at its countless ports, their sleek hulls reflecting the light from nearby twin suns. The hub was a marvel of engineering, built by the combined efforts of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching the trade hub grow larger through the viewport. Her weathered face showed no emotion as she observed the bustling space traffic around them. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, checking systems and monitoring communications. The Prometheus led a fleet of 12 human vessels approaching the hub. To anyone watching, the ships looked ancient and clunky. Their hulls were dark gray metal, scarred and patched from countless journeys. No fancy curves or gleaming surfaces marked these vessels. They looked like they had been welded together in some forgotten shipyard decades ago. Dr. Marcus Chen, the fleet's chief engineer, walked up beside Captain Vasquez. His gentle eyes held a knowing gleam as he watched the alien ships around them. "Captain, we're getting some interesting reactions to our arrival," he said softly. Vasquez nodded. "I can imagine. How are our systems performing?" "Everything is running perfectly," Chen replied. "The masking protocols are working exactly as designed. To their sensors, we look exactly like what we want them to see." On the bridge of the Zenthari battlecruiser Rage of Stars, Admiral Thektar stared at the approaching human fleet with barely concealed disgust. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a sneer among his people. The bridge around him gleamed with polished metal and advanced displays, showing the tactical situation. "These are the humans we have heard so much about," Thektar asked his tactical officer. "Their ships look like scrap metal floating in space." Lieutenant Vexka, a younger Zenthari with ambitious eyes, nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir. Our sensors show basic fusion drives, simple metal construction, and primitive weapon systems. I have seen cargo haulers with better technology." Thektar's claws clicked against his command chair. The Zenthari had ruled their sector of space for over 2 centuries, through superior military might. Their ships were masterpieces of engineering, capable of devastating entire fleets. Looking at the human vessels, he felt almost insulted that they shared the same space. "Signal the other fleet commanders," he ordered. "I want them to see this. The mighty humans and their ancient fleet." Across the hub's traffic control zone, other alien commanders received Thektar's transmission. Commander Ilix of the Velterran Hegemony studied the human ships from her sleek silver vessel. The Velterrans prided themselves on technological sophistication and elegant design. Their ships looked like works of art, with flowing lines and energy fields that shimmered like aurora. "Fascinating," Ilix murmured, her voice carrying the melodic tones of her species. "The humans bring what appears to be a museum collection to one of the galaxy's most important trade centers." Her science officer, a tall being with crystalline skin, activated additional scans. "Commander, their ships register as at least 50 years behind our current technology. The power signatures are consistent with outdated fusion systems. Even their communications equipment appears primitive." Blix found this puzzling. Human traders had been appearing in various systems for the past few years, always in small numbers and always in unremarkable ships. But intelligence reports suggested that humanity was becoming a significant force in several regions. How could such primitive technology support an expanding civilization? On the bridge of the Kitharian dreadnought Mind's Edge, Captain Cephalon shared the transmission with his crew. The Kitharians were known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and logical approach to everything. Their ships reflected this philosophy, with geometric designs and efficient layouts that maximized functionality. "The human vessels present an interesting contradiction," Cephalon observed. "Reports indicate they have established colonies across 17 systems, yet their technology appears to be centuries behind galactic standards." His first officer, a being whose thoughts were partially visible as glowing patterns beneath translucent skin, considered this. Perhaps they compensate for technological deficiency through other means. Some species rely on numerical superiority or unconventional tactics. Possible, Cephalon agreed. But 12 ships would hardly constitute numerical superiority against the forces present here. Meanwhile, Captain Vasquez listened to the intercepted alien communications with growing amusement. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, was having difficulty keeping a straight face as she relayed the various comments being made about their fleet. "Captain, the Xanthari Admiral just referred to us as a flying junkyard," Park reported. "The Velterran commander wants to know if we're planning to sell our ships for scrap metal." "And the Catharians?" Vasquez asked. "They're trying to figure out how we manage interstellar travel with what they consider Stone Age technology." Dr. Chen chuckled softly. If only they knew what they were really looking at. The human fleet continued its approach to the assigned docking area. The hub's traffic controllers had placed them in a section typically reserved for minor trading vessels and diplomatic couriers. It was far from the prestigious berths where the major alien fleets displayed their powerful warships. As the Prometheus maneuvered toward its assigned dock, Captain Vasquez watched the alien ships around them. She could see the sleek Velterran cruisers with their energy shields creating rainbow patterns in space. The massive Xanthari battleships bristled with weapons that could crack planets. The geometric Catharian vessels hummed with barely contained power. All of them beautiful, all of them impressive, all of them exactly what they appeared to be. "Dr. Chen," she said quietly, "remind me again why we go to all this trouble to look primitive." Chen's eyes twinkled. "Because, Captain, the most dangerous opponent is the one your enemy doesn't take seriously. And humans have always been very good at being underestimated." On the hub itself, news of the human arrival spread quickly through the various alien delegations. In the central plaza, a vast space where representatives from dozens of worlds conducted business, the conversations turned to the newcomers. Ambassador Kreltov of the Hegemony Council examined holographic displays of the human ships with his colleagues. "I find it difficult to believe that such vessels could support a spacefaring civilization," he said, his voice echoing strangely through the translator device. Trade Minister Yelth of the Xanthari Commerce Guild nodded in agreement. "Perhaps the humans are not as advanced as some reports suggest. These ships look like they were built using techniques our ancestors abandoned centuries ago." Director Vel Anna of the Catharian Science Collective studied the technical readouts with particular interest. "The energy signatures are consistent with basic nuclear fusion. No exotic matter manipulation, no quantum field generators, no dimensional interface systems. It is remarkable that they achieved interstellar capability at all." The alien delegates shared a common assumption. Advanced civilizations naturally developed similar technologies. Quantum computers, energy shields, gravity manipulation, and dimensional drives were considered standard equipment for any species that had progressed beyond planetary boundaries. The absence of these technologies in human ships suggested a civilization that had somehow stumbled into space travel without truly understanding it. Back on the Prometheus, Captain Vasquez reviewed the mission briefings one final time. The humans had come to Nexus 7 for a crucial diplomatic meeting regarding territorial boundaries and trade agreements. Several alien civilizations have been expanding into regions that humans considered their sphere of influence. These negotiations would determine whether the situation could be resolved peacefully. "Captain," her first officer, Commander James Wright, reported, "we're receiving docking clearance. Bay 47 in the auxiliary commercial section." "Acknowledged. Take us in, Commander." As the human fleet settled into their assigned berths, alien observers continued to watch with a mixture of curiosity and condescension. The ships looked even more primitive up close. Their hulls were covered with patches and repairs that suggested they had been in service for decades. No energy fields protected them. No advanced materials gleamed in the station's lights. Admiral Thektar decided to get a closer look at these mysterious humans. He ordered his shuttle prepared and flew over to the docking area where the human ships were berthed. Through the shuttle's viewports, he could see human crew members working on their ship's exteriors. performing what looked like basic maintenance tasks. The humans wore simple uniforms without the sophisticated environmental suits that most spacefaring species required. Their tools appeared to be basic mechanical devices rather than the advanced energy-based equipment used by civilized worlds. Everything about them suggested a species that had barely mastered the basics of space travel. "Admiral," his pilot reported, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the human ships." "I'm not sure, sir. There are energy patterns I don't recognize, but they're very faint, almost like they're being masked somehow." Thektar studied the displays, but the readings meant nothing to him, probably just some quirk of their primitive fusion systems. "Continue monitoring, but don't worry about it. Primitive technology often produces unusual signatures." As the day progressed, more alien delegations sent representatives to observe the human ships. The general consensus was that humanity represented a minor civilization that had somehow managed to expand beyond their home system despite severe technological limitations. They were curious about how such a primitive species had achieved interstellar travel, but no one considered them a significant factor in galactic politics. Captain Vasquez watched the parade of alien observers from her bridge. Each delegation that came to examine their ships left with the same expression of barely concealed superiority. "Perfect. Dr. Chen," she said, "how long until the formal negotiations begin?" 18 hours, Captain. The alien delegations want time to review our credentials and assess our capabilities." "Good. That should give us plenty of time to prepare." She turned to address her bridge crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, in less than a day, we'll be sitting across from some of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They think we're primitive. They think we're weak. They think we're not worth taking seriously." She paused, looking at each of her officers in turn. "Tomorrow, we show them what humans are really capable of. But for now, we maintain the illusion. Let them laugh at our ancient fleet. Their shock will be all the greater when they learn the truth." As night fell over Nexus 7, the human fleet sat quietly in their modest berths, while the great alien warships gleamed in their prestigious docking bays. To anyone watching, it looked like 12 primitive vessels resting among the technological marvels of galactic civilization. But appearances, as the galaxy was about to learn, could be very deceiving indeed. The truth unveiled. The first warning came at 3:47 station time. Nexus 7's long-range sensors detected multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. The contacts were moving fast and heading directly for the trade hub. Within minutes, every command center on the station was buzzing with activity. Captain Vasquez was awakened by her ship's emergency communication system. She sat up in her quarters aboard the Prometheus and activated the display screen beside her bed. Commander Wright appeared on the screen, his face tense with concern. "Captain, we have a situation developing. Unknown vessels approaching the station at high speed. Initial count suggests at least 30 ships." Vasquez was instantly alert. "Any identification on the contacts?" "Negative, Captain. But the energy signatures match known configurations used by the Void Reapers." The Void Reapers. Every civilized species in the galaxy knew that name and feared it. They were the most notorious pirate armada in known space, responsible for devastating attacks on colonies, trade routes, and even military installations. Their ships were cobbled together from stolen technology, but their tactics were ruthless and effective. "How long until they reach the station?" Vasquez asked as she quickly dressed. "At current speed, approximately 47 minutes, Captain." "Sound general quarters. Get all department heads to the bridge immediately." Within minutes, Captain Vasquez was striding onto the bridge of the Prometheus. Around her, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, bringing all systems online and preparing for potential combat. Through the main view screen, she could see the other human ships in their fleet, also showing signs of increased activity. "Status report," she ordered as she settled into her command chair. Lieutenant Park looked up from her communications console. "Captain, we're intercepting traffic from the alien fleets. They're organizing a defensive response, but there's significant disagreement about tactics and command structure." Dr. Chen arrived on the bridge carrying a portable computer tablet. "Captain, I've been monitoring the alien preparations. They're having trouble coordinating their different technologies and command protocols. The Zenthari want to charge straight at the enemy. The Velterrans prefer evasive maneuvers, and the Kitharians are still analyzing the optimal strategic approach." "And the Void Reapers?" Vasquez asked. 32 ships confirmed, all heavily armed. Intelligence suggests they've been upgrading their technology through raids on military convoys. They're more dangerous than ever. On the bridge of the Rage of Stars, Admiral Fektar was shouting orders at his subordinates. The Zenthari fleet was already moving into attack formation, their heavy weapons charging for battle. But coordination with the other alien fleets was proving difficult. "Why are the Velterrans moving away from the optimal firing position?" he demanded. "Sir, they insist that their energy-based weapons require different tactical positioning than our kinetic systems," his tactical officer replied. "And the Kitharians are still running calculations instead of taking action," added another officer. "They want to wait for more complete data before committing to a battle plan." Fektar's claws scraped against his chair arms. In previous battles, each alien fleet had fought independently according to their own doctrines, but the Void Reapers were too strong for any single fleet to handle alone. They needed coordinated action, but achieving it was proving nearly impossible. "What about the humans?" he asked suddenly. "Sir, the human fleet? Are they taking any defensive actions?" The tactical officer checked his displays. "Unknown, sir. Their ships are still in the auxiliary docking area. We can't detect any significant changes in their energy output or positioning." Fektar almost laughed. Of course, the primitive humans were doing nothing. Their ancient ships probably couldn't even get their weapons online in time to be useful. At least they had the sense to stay out of the way. But on the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Vasquez was anything but inactive. "Dr. Chen, initiate Protocol 7. All ships, prepare for full capability reveal." "Aye, Captain," Chen replied, his fingers dancing over his control panel. "Sending authorization codes to the fleet now." Around the docking area, the 12 human ships began to change. It started subtly, panels sliding open on their hulls, revealing systems that had been hidden beneath false exteriors. The patches and repairs that had made them look ancient were revealed to be camouflage, concealing sophisticated equipment underneath. The UES Prometheus itself underwent the most dramatic transformation. Its chunky, primitive-looking hull began to extend and reshape itself. What had appeared to be simple metal plating folded back to reveal gleaming armor composed of materials that shouldn't have existed. Weapon ports opened along the ship's sides, and energy began to build within systems that alien sensors hadn't even detected. "Holy stars," whispered a Velterran sensor operator as she watched her displays. "Commander, you need to see this." Commander Relix studied the readings with growing amazement. The human ships were generating energy signatures that were off the scale. Power levels that should have been impossible for vessels of their size were building throughout the fleet. "How is this possible?" she asked. "Our scans showed primitive fusion reactors." "Commander, I think they were masking their true capability somehow. These readings suggest technology we've never seen before." On the Kitharian ship Mind's Edge, Captain Cephalon was experiencing something rare for his species: complete bewilderment. Kitharian minds were designed to process and understand complex information quickly, but the data coming from the human ships defied logical analysis. "The energy patterns don't match any known technology in our databases," his science officer reported. "The power generation systems appear to be based on principles we don't understand." "Impossible," Cephalon replied. "All sufficiently advanced civilizations develop similar technologies based on universal physical laws." "Yes, sir, but these humans seem to have found different laws." Captain Vasquez stood as her ship completed its transformation. Where the bridge had once looked like a simple control room, It now revealed itself as a sophisticated command center with holographic displays and advanced control systems emerging from hidden panels. "All ships report ready, Captain," Commander Wright announced. "Full stealth disengage, all weapons online, all systems at maximum capability." "Excellent. Open a channel to the alien fleets." Lieutenant Park worked at her console. "Channel open, Captain." Vasquez's voice carried to every alien ship in the system. "Attention all vessels. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. We are moving to intercept the incoming threat. Recommend all civilian and non-combat vessels withdraw to safe distance." The response was immediate. Admiral Thektar's voice crackled over the communication system. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Thektar of the Zenthari fleet. You are advised to withdraw immediately. Your ships are not equipped for this level of combat." "With respect, Admiral, I think you'll find that our ships are more capable than they appear." The 12 human vessels began to move, but instead of the slow, clumsy maneuvering that the aliens expected from primitive ships, they moved with grace and speed that defied belief. The Prometheus led the formation, its transformed hull gleaming as it accelerated toward the incoming Void Reaper fleet. "Impossible," Thektar breathed as he watched the tactical display. "Those ships are moving faster than our most advanced interceptors." The human fleet closed the distance to the Void Reapers with shocking speed. As they approached, their true nature became fully apparent. These were not primitive vessels cobbled together from outdated technology. They were masterpieces of engineering that incorporated principles the galaxy's greatest civilizations had never imagined. The first engagement began when the Lid Void Reaper ship fired a massive energy blast at the approaching human fleet. The aliens watching expected to see at least one human ship destroyed. Instead, they witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about space combat. The energy blast struck the Prometheus directly. Instead of penetrating the hull or being absorbed by shields, the blast seemed to bend around the ship like water flowing around a stone. Not only was the human vessel unharmed, but somehow the energy from the attack was redirected back at the Void Reaper ship, striking it with twice the original force. "What just happened?" Commander Elix asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Chen smiled as he monitored the battle from his position on the Prometheus bridge. "Captain, the gravitational deflection system worked perfectly. We absorbed the incoming energy and used their own attack against them." "Excellent. Signal the fleet. Commence attack pattern Phoenix." What happened next would be remembered as the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The human ships didn't simply fight the Void Reapers. They danced around them like artists creating a masterpiece. Their weapons defied conventional understanding, bending space and time to strike targets that should have been impossible to hit. The UES Constitution demonstrated technology that allowed it to be in multiple places simultaneously, confusing enemy targeting systems while delivering devastating attacks from unexpected angles. The UES freedom generated fields that caused enemy ships to simply stop functioning, their crews unharmed but their vessels completely disabled. Within 20 minutes, the entire Void Reaper fleet was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship had been seriously damaged. The most feared pirate armada in the galaxy had been defeated by 12 vessels that everyone had dismissed as primitive relics. As the last Void Reaper ship powered down in surrender, stunned silence filled the communication channels. Then Admiral Thektar's voice cut through the quiet. "Captain Vasquez," he said, his tone completely different from before. "I believe we owe you an apology and an explanation of how this is possible." Captain Vasquez appeared on the main communication screen visible to all the alien fleets. Behind her, the bridge of the Prometheus showed its true nature as one of the most advanced command centers ever built. "The explanation is simple, Admiral," she said with a slight smile. "Humans learned long ago that the best way to survive in a dangerous universe is to let potential enemies underestimate you. Our ships were designed to look primitive while incorporating technology that your civilizations haven't developed yet." "But how?" Commander Elix asked. How did you advance so far beyond us without us knowing? Dr. Chen stepped into view on the screen. Because we followed a different path. While your civilizations focused on perfecting existing technologies, humans focused on finding completely new approaches. We didn't try to build better energy shields. We learned to manipulate gravity itself. We didn't develop faster weapons. We found ways to bend space so our weapons don't have to travel far. Captain Zephalon of the Catherians spoke next. This suggests that our fundamental assumptions about technological development were incorrect. Not incorrect, Vasquez replied. Just incomplete. There are many paths to advancement. Humans chose the path that others considered impossible. As the alien fleets slowly returned to the station, their commanders struggled to process what they had witnessed. The primitive human ships that they had mocked were revealed to be the most advanced vessels in known space. The species they had dismissed as barely civilized had just saved them all from destruction. In the diplomatic quarters of Nexus 7, emergency sessions were being called. The territorial negotiations that had brought the humans here would now take on an entirely different character. No one would be questioning human capabilities again. Captain Vasquez stood on her bridge as the Prometheus returned to its berth. The ship's external appearance was already shifting back to its original primitive look, but everyone who had witnessed the battle would remember what they had seen. Dr. Chen, she said quietly, I think we've made our point. Indeed, Captain. Though I suspect our diplomatic negotiations are going to be much more interesting now. That was the idea, Vasquez replied with satisfaction. Sometimes the best way to earn respect is to first let them think you don't deserve it. As Nexus 7 settled back into its normal routine, word of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The day that humans revealed their true capabilities would mark the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. No one would ever again make the mistake of judging humanity by appearances alone. The ancient-looking fleet had taught the galaxy an important lesson. Never underestimate the species that learned to hide their greatest strengths behind a mask of apparent weakness. Humans had not just won a battle, they had won the respect of an entire galaxy.